everyone. Welcome back to Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a special Divine Masculine reading. I was going to do a full Sacred Union energy update. I'm going to do that later this week. But I sat down just to pull a few cards just to see what's going on, to tune into the collective, and Divine Masculine energy was coming in full force. Now, we did a Sacred Union energy update from last week talking about the Divine Masculine and Tower moments, and I really encourage you guys to check that out. I'm not going to repeat myself because I don't want to waste time doing that. But if you have experienced some kind of a Tower moment, or your masculine has experienced some kind of a Tower moment, this could be your external masculine, this could be you with your internal masculine, but there has been some kind of a tower, some kind of a, almost like a downward spiral that might have made you ask the question, what the hell is going on? And it might have made you feel for a moment, am I being deterred from my path? Is this even possible? Because we've been picking up on the Sacred Union energy coming through where the doors are open. We've been picking up on so much forward momentum, especially with the Divine Masculine, and it's like, wait a minute, what just happened? It might have felt like the world got turned upside down, but there was a purpose for it. There's always a higher purpose, and we can't look at the lens of just the physical nature. There's always more than meets the eye. The physical eye. We have to look through the lens of the soul. We have to look through the lens of the heart. We have to look with the wider perspective of the universal picture. And so for the Divine Masculine, whatever this experience was, and I've talked with many of you in the Patreon live stream that you've been experiencing this as well. So I appreciate the confirmation, the validation. I know that I've talked with several people prior to that live stream where you guys confirmed for me that they were experiencing this as well. And I go into that in the I think Divine Masculine Towers Lead to Transcendence. I think that's what it's called, something like that. That link is in the description box. I really encourage you guys to check that out, especially if you're experiencing something like this. This is almost like the initiation, the push into that union. If you're on the Sacred Union path of ascension, if you've been catalyzed to your ascension journey through the Sacred Union path, whether that's with a partner, whether that's just learning about twin flames or the path itself, Sacred Union itself, then it's for a purpose. Everything has a purpose. You've been directed there for a purpose. And union is that purpose. And so it might look like everything kind of got turned upside down. How is this ever going to be possible? But it is. And your job, especially if you're Divine Feminine, is to release the attachment to expectation. Release the attachment to outcome. Release the attachment to how you think it's supposed to happen. That's what this journey is teaching you. So there's a huge tower that's been happening for the Divine Masculine where it might look like one thing on the 3D, but there's a whole lot of energetic stuff that's happening in the higher realms. There's a whole lot of alignment. There's a whole lot of pieces that are being put into place. I had shared many months ago that what might look like a small step is actually a quantum leap energetically. And so Divine Feminines, for you, this is your initiation as well. Divine Masculine is going through their ascension. Like, this is a huge push for their ascension. This is Divine Masculines waking up. Waking up to the connection, waking up to the truth of themselves, waking up to a deeper level of themselves. We're going to get into all that today. But Divine Feminine, for you too, this is a huge surrender. And I just posted in a coaching session with a client last week, I think it was last week, we brought forth the question, where do you feel helpless or powerless? This is your point of surrender. And so if you feel helpless or powerless, you're being asked to surrender and trust the Divine Masculine. And if you're not able to do that, then that's just, again, kind of repelling the masculine energy, because you're meant to trust the Divine Masculine. You're meant to have faith in the Divine Masculine. And if you can't trust the physical, then at least trust the masculine within yourself, trust in God's source, trust in the masculine energy. You can love the soul and not engage with a person's ego. You don't, just because you're loving somebody unconditionally doesn't mean that you have to engage in the ego. And the less that you engage in the ego, the more you're tuned in to the soul. And that's a huge lesson for the Divine Feminines as well. So I encourage you guys to check out that reading. We're going to get into it deeper for both counterparts. coming up with the Sacred Union Energy update, but I wanted to do a Divine Masculine reading because clearly I pulled some cards and there was a lot that was coming out, and I thought, you know what, I might as well just hop on. I have not been doing a lot of readings lately because I have a lot of announcements that are coming up. I'm kind of overhauling my business to go deeper. As my whole channel, my whole business has been an evolution for myself and my spiritual journey, and I'm looking to go even deeper, and I hope that you guys join me with that. But there's going to be some changes, so make sure that you follow along with the newsletter. I have a lot of announcements coming up. I have a new book that is going to be coming out. It's going to be hopefully helpful for everybody who is on this twin flame or sacred union path of ascension. I will have a title, cover reveal, and all the information coming in April. We're also going to be moving the Patreon Spiritual Connections tier over here to YouTube. So we'll have some pick-a piles, we'll have extended readings, and we'll have some bonus readings and things like that here on YouTube. It's going to be a little bit cheaper, so it's going to be good for you guys. And you can cancel anytime that you want. You can join anytime that you want. I feel like that would just be a little bit easier. But I'll have all of that shared in the newsletter and over on the Patreon for the Patreon community in the next couple of days. So make sure that you are staying tuned. There's a lot that's coming up this year that I'm very excited to share, but I have to go step by step. So thank you guys for bearing with me. I also have pulled back from doing readings because we've already done the readings. As you guys know, I've been talking about this. It feels like the past 2 years there's been like a hijacking. I talked about that in the last reading that we just did as well. It feels like there's been a hijacking, especially for the masculine energy. And so where we were on track for sacred unions, all of a sudden it felt like everything got thrown up in the air, everything got torn apart. And I've been talking with people who are not part of our community who have experienced the same thing. So it is very collective, and I feel like we are back on track. We've been getting back on track this past year. And so I encourage you guys to, especially if you're new to the channel, if you're resonating with these readings, to go back through the playlist from, I want to say, 2022 to 2023. You might even go back a little bit further to 2021, but really began to pick up the end of 2021, 2022, 2023, last year. The energy that's here now is the energy that we were channeling back then. Not to say that it didn't resonate back then as well, but again, the energies really got hijacked. We got brought off track. And again, we might have been like, what the heck, everything was on track. Those are timeless readings, and all my readings are timeless, and they have activations where everything happens in layers. So where you might not have understood it back then, or where you might have understood a piece of it back then, you'll understand more of it now, especially in retrospect. So I really encourage you guys to tune into your intuition, go back through the playlist, see which ones called to you to watch. There might be more messages in there for you as well. As I'm called to them, I will, of course, repost them or share them across my social media, but that's really why I haven't been doing a lot of readings. Number one, I've been busy in the background, but number two, because I just haven't been called to. And there is a divine purpose for that as well. It's number one, to keep honoring and trusting the divine masculine as we are honoring and trusting ourselves, believing in ourselves, having faith in the masculine, and trusting in our intuition, and in that surrender, being in that surrendered state. So everything on this journey of ascension is very layered. It's not just one thing or the other. And that's where we have to look beyond the veil. That's where we have to look beyond the surface and the 3D. Everything, it happens in components. It happens in layers. It's not just one thing or the other. It's not black and white. And that's what we're learning too. Nothing is black and white anymore. Nothing is left or right. Nothing is red or blue. Like, there's always that middle path. There's always that middle way. And that middle way is layered. And so we're understanding too that many things can coexist at the same time. That's part of our multidimensional nature as well. So, again, really encourage you guys to check out past readings, past teachings. We go even deeper over on my sister channel, Susan Dawn Ascension Connections. I encourage you to check that out. And if you're not quite sure where to start, check out my Journey to Union video bundle. I have curated all of my sacred channelings, talking about the Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine, the Twin Flame Journey, the Journey, Sacred Union, Path of Ascension, the Journey to Union, and remastered everything. So it's 16 hours of video, 40 videos, and we're continuing to add to it. So if you just want a start, you could check that out. Okay, that being said, let's get into this reading. So I started over here just to pick up on what is the current energy for the Divine Masculine, what's going on. And immediately I got these two cards that came out at the same time, the Emperor and the Four of Cups. And immediately what I got was a little bit of a stubborn energy with the Four of Cups. And you see how he's kind of like holding his arms over his chest. But what I'm picking up on this is a lot of inner child healing that's happening right now. Where there was a lot of stubbornness, where there was a lot of resistance because the inner child wasn't feeling heard, wasn't feeling supported, wasn't even feeling loved, that almost prevented them from becoming the emperor that you know and you have always seen them to be. They had trouble becoming the best version of themselves. They had trouble, and let me be very clear because they want me to be very clear with this. Best version of yourself does not mean perfection. It means in every moment, you're just doing the very best that you can. And mistakes will happen. You will sometimes feel off track. You will sometimes feel low. It's okay. You are human. But the gift of God, the gift of the universe, is that you always have another choice to make. That even if you have gone off your path, you can make a choice that gets you back on your path. You can course correct. That is your gift, is that you can always change your mind. You can always do something differently. That is an absolute gift. And so it's not about perfection. It's not about achieving perfection. It's about just doing your best. And I feel like that's where they kind of lost themselves in a way. They had a lot of expectations on themselves. They had a lot of pressure on themselves, maybe even stemming from childhood. And that prevented them from feeling worthy of even becoming the emperor, even becoming this divine conscious masculine. And you see how there are children here as well? I'm getting an energy of the two of you. The two of you recognizing the sacred child is the phrase that they're giving me. We have channeled many times over the years the statue of Burning Man, where there is the two adults that are sitting back to back, and the two children within that statue are like reaching out to each other, trying to connect. That's where the disconnect was coming from. It was coming from a healing that needed to happen within the inner child. And so I feel like now the universe is like, I've always been supporting you. I'm here. When you're ready, see how she's just kind of like chilling? She's like, when you're ready, I'm here. When you're ready to acknowledge me, I'm here. Stop looking at those empty cups. When you're ready, I'm here. I've always been here. I'm always here to support you to become the masculine that you've wanted to become, the emperor that you've wanted to become, the person that you've wanted to become. And he's looking wistfully at the two children, and I feel like this is you and your divine counterpart, your inner children uniting, coming together as one. It could also be the masculine and the feminine, take it as it resonates for you, their own inner masculine and feminine harmonizing and balancing as one. And it could be you and your counterpart as the masculine and feminine energies uniting as one, but he's looking wistfully at the two of them together, that unity. And he doesn't have union here. He doesn't have that unity. There's a division here. There's a disconnect here because of that resistance, that stubbornness. And that's not a blame. That's just what they experienced from upbringing, from any experiences that they had, from maybe trauma that they had, patterns that they had, whatever it was. But that's what they needed to heal. The universe has been supporting them, and now it's like the universe is saying, you know, when you're ready to acknowledge my support, I'm here for you. And so the divine masculine is now looking wistfully at the two children together, at the masculine and the feminine energies together, and he's like, he's ready. And I'm just looking at the ball in his hand, and it's giving me solar plexus energy, recognizing that he has the capability within his own hands. This is the divine masculine that is beginning to understand, and we've been channeling this for many months now, this enlightenment, right? This rebirth that they've been going through, this aligning with the head and the heart, recognizing their own power, recognizing their ability. They're giving me chariot energy. I don't think I have the chariot out here. but they're giving me very chariot energy. It could be magician energy too. It's like you're in charge of your destiny. You can't control outside environments. You can't control other people, but you do and can control yourself. And that is solar plexus energy. Solar plexus energy is like, that's the seat of your soul. That's like you. It's your willpower. It's you in charge of yourself. It's you in charge of your destiny. It's your strength. It's your courage. And they're beginning to realize that strength and that courage within themselves. And if they have experienced this tower moment, we have the tower out that came out. If they've experienced this tower moment, it's because they needed that push. They needed to recognize that for themselves, where they might have been clinging to other people for that instead. They needed to see this for themselves, and now they are focused. Now they're focused on the inner work. Now they have that direction, that sense of direction. And that sense of direction is masculine energy. Direction is, I know what to look for, I know what to work on, I know where I want to go, I know where I want to lead my life, I know where I want to heal, I know. And so with the Two of Wands here as well, it was the Eight of Pentacles, then the Two of Wands. It's like making that decision of what path I want to take now. I feel like previously this masculine had been in a very passive energy because they didn't have that sense of focus. They didn't have that sense of direction. That's a very distorted masculine energy. A conscious masculine energy has direction, has focus. So I feel like this is really a rise of the divine masculine energy. With the Nine of Wands, they've been through battles, but they're not giving up. And in the traditional Nine of Wands, the person is kneeling. They feel very aggrieved. They feel exhausted because of the battles that they've faced. Look at this one. Standing up, ready to fight again. Ready to take charge of their life. Not fighting against anybody. Fighting for their life. Fighting for themselves. Fighting for the connection. Fighting with. And when I say fighting, again, it's not a division, which had been in the past. They're reminding me of a channeling that we did. It's called The Lone Wolf No More. You guys can check that out. I'll try to remember a link. Where the divine masculine had felt like they needed to be very singular on their own. Nobody can help me. Divine feminines, as you moved into your masculine energy along your journey, not your ascension journey, but previous to your ascension, you might have moved into a more masculine energy of, I can do it all myself. I don't need anybody. But as you've healed, you've begun to recognize what it means to allow yourself to receive, what it means to allow yourself to be in that receptive mode, what it allows for you to be in that surrender mode. Surrender doesn't mean submissive. Your own inner masculine takes the lead sometimes, but that's not your core energy. And so you've allowed yourself through your journey to heal that distorted masculine that is like, I can do it all myself. I have to do it all myself and only by myself. It's all about unity. It's all about the union. And so here, there's been so many battles, but also so many triumphs. These are all the battles that you've been through. And now they're like, I'm standing up to fight another day. So this tower that came in has actually rocked their foundation. But that foundation had to be rocked for them to recognize their own power, their own creative abilities, where they might have been putting the emphasis externally. They might have been looking at the material world. Now they're looking within and recognizing their ability to manifest, their ability to create. It's the union, they're saying, of the masculine and the feminine within them. The union of the two, where they might have looked at, for example, if they had, if there was a financial loss, for example, they might have been looking at external factors like the stock took a dive, or they lost their job, or they had an emergency bill that took all their money or something like that. They might have been looking at the external factors and kind of blaming the external world for it. But they're recognizing now that everything is energy. And where were they holding on to the external? Where were they holding on to, or putting all their eggs in one basket? So where were they holding on to that rather than cultivating the energy within them? Raising their frequency, shifting their vibration, changing their mindset, changing their patterns, trusting their intuition, rather than logically I should put all my money in this stock, or logically I should take this job, or logically I should, whatever the situation was. That's just an example. And it's going to look a little bit different for everybody. Everybody's situation, everybody's tower moment is going to look a little bit different. For some, it might be separations and relationship changes. For others, it might be addictions and like illegal stuff. For others, it might be financial stuff or job stuff. It's going to look different for everybody, but the core energy underneath it is the same. It's collective, because it is a huge shift in the collective energy. So they're beginning to realize from this tower that the foundation that they were trying to build the tower on again and again and again, every time they got knocked down, they were trying to build the tower on the same patterns, the same habits, the same behaviors, the same mindsets, the same beliefs. And the universe kept saying, no, 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 you've got to shift your mindset. You've got to shift your belief, especially the belief that you have about yourself. Now, the magician, there has to be a balancing here, a grounding here, because in a distorted lens, the magician can be too much in the ego, too much in like the spiritual ego. So there has to be a grounding, but you recognize that you're not just a creator of your own life, but you're a creator with everybody in your life. With. They're beginning to recognize the power of the with. Does that make sense? I just realized how that sounded. You're beginning to recognize the power of working with people, supporting with other, the importance of community. And we had channeled for the 2024 year ahead reading that community is going to be vital, especially with Pluto now in Aquarius. Community, it's all about community. And we just had the Libra full moon, the Libra lunar eclipse, which is all about community, all about relationships. And I feel like with this total eclipse in Aries that's coming up, it is going to be knocking anything of that individual notion out. Now, that does not mean that you're not still an individual. It's that interdependence that we experience in relationships. And remember, what we experience in relationships is also what we see in the world. What we see in the world is also what we cultivate in relationships. So it's not that you're not an individual. What a conscious relationship is are two healthy individuals with your own likes, your own dislikes, your own community, your own friends, but you come together in a healthy partnership. And in that partnership, you birth a relationship with each other, the two people, the masculine and the feminine, birthing that relationship. And that relationship is something that you nurture together, but you don't lose, there's no enmeshment or codependency. You don't lose your sense of identity. You don't lose your freedom. In fact, a true healthy conscious relationship creates even more liberation for you both to be and honor your unique selves, your authentic selves. So from the individual to the oneness, essentially, is what's happening in this world. And that's also happening within the connection. But it's happening in such a state for the connection where, especially the masculine, felt like they had to do everything themselves and were so individual and were so singular. Now they're recognizing the value of connection, especially the value of sacred partnership. So interesting stuff going on for the Divine Masculine. And I went over here and I said, well, what's the feeling for the feminine? Just out of curiosity. And we had the King of Swords come out, the Seven of Swords come out, and the Ace of Swords come out. I'll talk about this in a minute. Communication. What was interesting is, I'll get to that in a second. They are valuing communication, or I should say they're recognizing the value of communication, where they might have kept everything close to their chest. And that's a distorted masculine trait, but that's a trait of the masculine that we see within our society as a whole, where because the feminine energy within them has been so suppressed, they can't express themselves, they can't share their emotions, they're not allowed to be vulnerable. Like, that's what our society has cultivated. But that is what we're changing, and that is exactly what these sacred relationships are helping to shift. Because the feminine energy is rising, and as the feminine energy rises, so too does the masculine. So the feminine energy, as we've been channeling for months now, maybe even years now, is rising within the masculine too. And Divine Feminine, as you rise and step into your power and into your glory and into your empowerment and honoring yourself and loving yourself and shining your light and not being afraid to shine your light, that affects the masculine. And along their ascension, it might have really triggered the shadow within them. But that's their journey. That's their tower. They have to go through the triggers. They have to go through all of that, the shadow, in order to recognize their own light that you were just shining on them. You were shining so brightly that it activated their shadow, but that's part of the journey for them. And you have to trust them and believe in them enough to go through their journey. So, and that's where you have faith. That's where you hold on to faith. Again, you don't, in the physical, we're talking higher level stuff here. I always bring it to the higher level. In the physical, if they're acting out of the shadow or out of the unconscious or out of the distortion, you don't have to engage. That's where you're honoring yourself. That's where you're loving yourself. But you can still hold that space. Remember, two things can coexist. You can still hold that space of unconditional love and belief. And especially now when we're seeing it doesn't make any sense, the physical world, from what you're feeling intuitively. That's where you just pull back from the physical. Don't engage. Accept what is being shown to you, but say, okay, you know what? I can see that's what's happening, but I'm just going to kind of go over here and focus on my life and focus on what it is that I'm creating. And that's exactly where you need to be for the masculine to rise. Because by focusing on yourself, you're not neglecting or abandoning the masculine. You can't. You're one. You never abandon each other. That is an old belief, right? That's a wound that needs to heal. You need to bring that to the surface to heal it. By focusing on yourself, you are, in fact, helping the masculine to rise and claim their place beside you, essentially, in support of each other. Because by focusing on yourself, you're not putting pressure on the masculine, or you're not chasing the masculine, or you're not... You can support, of course. We're meant to support each other. You can communicate, you can love them, but you can't do their journey for them, and you're not meant to. And so that's where you have those boundaries. And by you focusing on yourself does not mean that you're not holding that love within your heart. In fact, that love is just expanding. It's interesting. I was talking to our Patreon community and in the live stream, and I said, this situation with the tower has me feeling more love than I ever have with my masculine. And you guys know what I went through in the past year, where I was facing a lot of doubt. I was going through a lot. I was going through my own ego stuff, because what was shown to me in the physical was so counterintuitive to what I was intuitively feeling. And I'm like, how can this possibly be? But this is my surrender. This is where I have learned throughout the year to keep honoring myself. My masculine kept forcing me to grow in a way. And that's what a true sacred partnership or even twin flame relationship is. It's where you keep growing. Despite what is happening, you keep growing, you keep evolving. Your masculine will always push you towards growth. Always. And that evolution as well, your inner evolution, and you'll do the same for them. And it might not look pretty, it might not look fun, it might really suck in the physical. But that's where you have to begin to love and trust and honor each other. And the more that you both come together in that level of consciousness, the more that divine masculine raises in their level of consciousness and chooses to honor the feminine, the more the feminines honor the masculine, the more that you can consciously go through this journey together. And that is the higher heart ascension phase. And I talk about that in other channelings. I talk about that in my Twin Flame Truths program. So, but that's the next phase. It is consciously journeying together. So what's happening is I was going to say this. So the divine masculine is wanting to communicate because they're having new understandings, and I feel like there's a lot that wants to be said, a lot that had been suppressed. They held it all to their chest. They weren't allowing them to speak up, but I feel like now they're wanting to share. They're wanting to share their journey. They're wanting to communicate with you, and for some there might be apologies. For some there might be just like an acknowledgement of what you've been through together, an acknowledgement of maybe where they've been on their journey. And I'm also getting to know you better. I feel like this masculine might have known you on some level, but divine feminine, you are complex. You were complex. And that both intrigued and scared the divine masculine, because they were not used to that complexity, especially in comparison to other relationships that they might have had, and not just romantic relationships, but in their understanding of the feminine energy. They didn't understand true divine feminine complexity. How you can hold that unconditional love, how you can hold space for emotions, how you can be that light, and how you can also go into the depths of the shadow, because that's the dark feminine, that's the wild feminine. She's able to go into those depths. She's able to go into those darkness, to that darkness, and bring out the light. And the divine masculine did not quite understand that. But now I feel like they're wanting to get to know you on this new level and in this new version of yourself, and wanting you to know them in this version of themselves. And this is where that new beginning occurs. This is where you have the possibility of that new beginning that we've been channeling. For some, it's going to be the same masculine that you've been journeying with. For some, it's going to be a new counterpart that's coming in that you're going to get to know. But it's going to feel like you are at the beginning of your ascension journey. You're not at the beginning. You've done so much healing and so much inner work. You're not at the beginning, but it's going to feel like that. You know how you felt in that moment of activation, that love, that recognition, that sacred bubble? It's that. And now, instead of the triggers and the shadows and all the ghosting and the runner-chaser dynamic, because you are recalibrating your energies, what's happening is you're going to come together, and there's going to be a much more conscious connection where you're now working together in honor of the sacred union, in honor of each other. Now, this is going to be a continued process. I feel like June is going to be really big for communication, possibly even unions, but that's going to continue throughout the rest of 2024 and 2025. It's going to keep picking up the momentum. So that's not to say that you have to wait for anything. That's not to say like, oh my gosh, it's so far away. Like, we're already in the 4th month of the year. Time is moving so very quickly. So very quickly. So it's all energy. It's all picking up momentum. So don't look like it's something far off. It's here now. You're always in union. You're just matching frequencies now. You're recalibrating the energy. What I wanted to say was, as I was getting ready to do this reading, I had my phone in my pocket, and it started to vibrate like I had somebody calling me, because I keep my phone on quiet. And I looked at it. I wasn't getting a call. I didn't have any messages. There was no notification. Like, there's no reason why it should have been vibrating, but I swear I felt that vibration. So I feel like that was like almost like a message of messages coming in, like communication coming in. So I do feel like there is a desire for that communication. What is that communication now? The communication is the 7 of Swords and the Ace of Swords. You guys know me. I don't really like the 7 of Swords. The 7 of Swords can be deception, self-sabotage. But I feel like this is past tense. I feel like there's clarity coming where there was self-sabotage, where there was deception in the connection, where the masculine was sabotaging the connection or sabotaging themselves out of those old fears, out of the old wounding, etc. So there's a clearing of the air, and especially when the Ace of Swords came out to clarify this, there's a clearing of the air that's coming through here. The Divine Masculine carries a lot of wisdom. They carry a lot of higher level templates, as well as the Divine Feminine, and working in harmony with each other. This is power couple stuff. This working in harmony together, like, you create magic. But the Divine Masculine, there was a level of mistrust for the Divine Feminine, for themselves, because they weren't in tune with their intuition. They were approaching it from a logical standpoint. And now that they're coming online with the heart and the mind, working as one in that union of feminine and masculine energies within them, their own inner union, they're learning discernment. They're learning how to trust their intuition versus looking at things just logically. There's a power in logic. There's a power in being very practical and being very rational. We need that. But in alignment with the intuition, that's where the true power is. So they're beginning to understand what is true wisdom and not just intellectual understanding. And I feel like that's where there's a lot of clarity that is coming through for them. And there's a lot of clarity that's coming through with regards to the connection and how they feel about you. Where they were just self-sabotaging based on old beliefs, old habits, old mindsets, old behaviors, old trauma, old relationships, where they were deceiving themselves about how they feel, especially, there's new clarity that's coming in, and with that clarity, there's communication. We next got the Death card, 10 of Pentacles, and the World. So the Death is this ending of an old way of being, an ending of an old version of themselves, and I'm also hearing an ending of an old version of the connection. The energy, especially with this eclipse energy, it is clearing out all that old energy. And this has been a process. And so as we go back through the past, maybe, last year, last eclipse cycle, um, past, solstices and equinoxes and all these powerful portal energies, they were bringing us to the next level, and to the next level, and to the next level. What they're showing me is a staircase, and each staircase is a new level. And with each staircase, we get to the next platform, right? So, like, to the next floor. So what we've been doing is we've been working our way through up the stairs, which is a level in and of itself, to get to this platform, to get to this new floor. And that new floor is a new cycle, a new phase of your journey, the higher heart ascension, union, essentially. But we've been clearing, going through step by step by step as part of that process. And all these supportive energies, these cosmic supportive energies, have been helping us to clear away that debris. And so one lunar cycle, or one equinox or solstice portal, or one eclipse cycle might have gotten us to another step on the stair. But now we're reaching, and I feel like June, I don't know why, but June feels so important. June, it's like we're going to be hitting that real turning point for the next floor, for the next journey, for the next phase. Not just a cycle, but a phase. And so when you look back, when you're on that floor, you look back and you're like, oh, I see. It's like cycle after cycle after cycle. We were just clearing through it. But it's not just clearing out a cycle. It's moving to the next level, moving to the next level, moving to the next level on that staircase to get to that floor, to get to that ultimate next phase. Does that make sense? Anyway, so that's what's happening here. There's been a huge shift, or there is a huge shift. I feel like this is all present energy. There's a huge shift that's occurring where it's death and rebirth. And the Divine Masculine has been going through this death cycle. We had channeled that they were in a couple months ago. They were in this cosmic cocoon. What I was seeing was almost like a womb. And it was a fully grown man naked in the womb. And there were so many light codes around them. It was like a gestation period, and now they're giving birth to that new version of themselves. This is their ascension. This is the birth of the Divine Masculine. And it's going to be birth of their connection as well. This new phase of your connection, because this is the conscious Divine Masculine. This is their ascension. And as they're giving birth to this new version of themselves, they're naturally going to give birth to a new version of your connection in the physical. Now, again, it's going to relate to everybody in a little bit of a different way. For some, it's going to be the same counterpart that has been transforming. For others, it's going to be a new counterpart carrying those conscious codes, or carrying that twin flame energy. You can check out the soulmate path reading. You can check out some of my other channelings for more on that. Don't let that trigger you. Don't let that shake you up. If it's shaking you up, keep looking at where the attachment is, or where the expectation is. But there's something new that's coming through here. And what does it bring through? It brings through the Ten of Pentacles and the World. And the World is twofold. I like how we have two endings here, because the World can indicate an ending as well, completion. We have two endings here, but it's like from the ending comes beginnings, and that's always what happens with the death. From death comes birth. From destruction comes creation. From an ending comes a beginning. It's always a cycle. And with the World card here, it's like, number one, it's the ending of an old cycle, but there's a lot of success here. There's a lot of victory here. There's a lot of I'm just getting this a blossoming energy, like spring, like, spring, how the flowers bloom and everything is just, the foliage is so full. It's a fullness, it's a wholeness here. It's really beautiful energy. It's like a garden that is just coming to full bloom. That's what this energy feels like. But on the other end of this, then you start the cycle over. Now, not starting it over, obviously, from the where you were, but from this new level of consciousness, from this new frequency. And now you're doing this together with the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles is bringing it into the physical form. Over the past several months, maybe even the past year or so, you have been feeling that union energy within you. And that's where you're looking at your physical world and you're like, this is so counterintuitive. It's like juxtaposing how I'm actually feeling. How can this possibly come to fruition? How is this even possible? You're thinking it's going to take a fucking miracle. But guess what? Yeah, a miracle is just a shift in consciousness. A miracle is just a shift in perspective. Miracles are happening every single moment and every single day. You are a miracle. You are the miracle. So recognize that within yourself, and that's what this Ten of Pentacles is saying. The Ten of Pentacles is saying that unit energy that was that Ten of Cups that you had in your mind, that might have felt like just pure fantasy, that might have felt like a dream, it's manifesting. Ten of Pentacles is everything manifested into physical form. All those dreams, all those goals, all those desires manifested into physical form. And that is what is coming. That's what's manifesting, including especially your connection. And they're pointing me to the dog as the golden retriever. And if you're on social media, it's funny, like there's some relationships that they're like, oh, he's giving me golden retriever energy. And what is golden retriever energy? Golden retriever energy is just joy, pure unconditional love, boundless joy, boundless love, lighthearted energy, loyal companion, friendship. Like that's golden retriever energy. And that's what this feels like. It feels like that new level of sacred union. The first part of your journey, your ascension, for both of you, has been healing the shadows, experiencing the triggers to show you the holes of where you need to heal, to show you the holes to mend, to patch up, to heal, to show you the shadows, to bring it to light, to bring it to consciousness. And now, this next level, it doesn't mean you're not going to have challenges. It doesn't mean you're not going to have obstacles. It doesn't mean you're not going to have triggers. But now you consciously work together rather than against each other. You consciously work together for the connection with each other. That's what I was talking about with the with. Why community is so important now. With is so important. And you experience that in your sacred relationship with your counterpart as well. And that's where the Ten of Pentacles becomes nurtured. And that's where your victory and your success comes in. All right. This feels extremely powerful. I'm going to leave this here, but we're going to do a full Sacred Union energy update sometime in the next couple of days. I hope it resonates. Let me know if it does. I am sending you all so much love, so much light, and we'll see you soon.